So, Thinking Man's Thursday. Let's talk about long distance relationships. If you happen to be one of the couples that can make a long distance relationship work without ever having really spent a lot of time in person, then you're a bit of a miracle. If you're not, then, especially if you're an online couple, fellas, I hate to tell you, but you're the emotional support for the girl who gets bad dick. Simple as that. And before you freak out and go, well, how else am I supposed to get a girlfriend in this day and age? Simple. You go the fuck outdoors. Okay? Or you do what I did. You get on a dating site, you put yourself out there, and you say exactly what you want. Excuse me. You don't pussyfoot around and say, oh, you know, I'm a very caring fellow. Or no. You tell them the truth. If you're a dominant guy who wants a woman who loves to shag, fucking tell them that. You don't necessarily have to use those words. You can be a little bit romantic. My tagline that actually attracted Stormy's attention said, I will slay dragons and read you poetry. Because I'm a massive fantasy nerd, and I do actually like to read poetry. Right? Also, don't send them fucking dick pics. Don't be an idiot. Don't ask about their body immediately. These are simple, obvious things. Treat them like a human being. Now, if you're outdoors and you see a girl with an amazing rack, sure, she's got an amazing rack. And that's not a bad reason to go and talk to her sometimes. But pay attention to what she's doing, who she's talking to, how she behaves when you approach her. Okay? You're going to get a feel for all this stuff eventually. It takes a while. I was in my mid-20s before I really got a handle on just talking to women. And by that point, I was years having lost my virginity. Getting laid is not the goal. Having a relationship is the goal. If all you want to do is get laid, go call a hooker. That's it. That's all you need. If all you're looking for is meat smacking against meat, you just need a hooker. But if you want to actually have a relationship with a woman you can trust, you need to put the groundwork in. You need to spend some time talking to them. You need to tell them what you want and ask them what they want. You have to hope, and it's always going to be a hope, that they tell you the truth in response. But if you're in an online relationship, if you're an online couple, you're not a couple. You're a throuple, at the very least. I've had friends who have had significant others in other places and claimed them to be their boyfriend or their girlfriend or their significant one way or another other. And yet, the conversations between them is generally, oh, I need someone to talk to. Yeah, if a girl tells you online that she just wants someone to talk to and she appreciates you because you are a good listener, that means the guy who's dicking her down doesn't give a shit what she thinks of the world. It's a rough world we live in. It's the way it is. And of course you're all screaming, Jorj, you talk about romance, you talk about love, you talk about intimacy. Yeah, but you gotta hunt for that stuff. It's not easy to find. Never has been. Okay? Don't let the bullshit glossed golden era crap from the 50s, the trad wife stuff, don't let that be your goal. Your goal is going to be the 30s era, where people were dirty, smelly, struggling, and still stuck together. Yes, there are women who will immediately look to better deal you. Ladies, there are guys who will do the exact same fucking thing to you. If you want to have a relationship with someone, you need to start off finding someone that can be your friend. And friendship means loyalty. I know, right? Honor and loyalty. Who the fuck believes in that shit anymore? What are you going to do? But you need to understand a little bit of the evolutionary history of men and women. Men evolved to be the hunter, the seeker, the protector, the provider. Women evolved to be the nurturer and the one who made sure her kids could survive. Which means that animal instinct to find the strongest male available is still there. So you have to give them a reason to think that you are the strongest male. And that doesn't mean you fake it. That means you need to present yourself in your best light as their best choice. So you don't need to bullshit. But you do need certain things. You need to be competent at something. Now, maybe you're a great person you're a person who tells great jokes. Women love it if you can make them laugh, especially if you include them in the joke. If they can get the humor with you, Stormy and I, we spend a lot of time laughing. And most of it is infantile as hell. But we have fun. And that's another important thing people forget now. Fun. And yeah, I'm sure in the 30s, it was not a lot of fun. Raising kids in the middle of the Great Depression probably wasn't a lot of fun. But I'm willing to bet that, like me and Stormy, they make their fun where they could. Or they made their fun where they could, sorry. But there's a few simple things you can do. If you're dirty, get clean. If you're hairy, like I'm a little hairy right now. Stormy doesn't mind it, but she far prefers me when I'm shaved bald. And truth be told, I far prefer it when I'm shaved bald, because I don't like this big balding patch I have, which is currently blowing my chroma out. But, guys, especially guys, I speak to the guys, because I'm a guy, and I'm going to talk to my people. Hi, fellas. But you don't have to be the alpha Chad in every room. But you need to be the alpha Chad in her eyes. That doesn't mean you have to be physically aggressive. It doesn't mean you even have to be sexually aggressive. What it means is that you have to know what you need from a partner, and you need to find a partner that can provide you with what you need, and you can provide them with what they need. It's very simple. And if what they need is someone to talk to, but they're online, then they don't need your dick. They don't need you physically present. And yeah, I'm using a bit of crude terminology, but they don't need you physically present if all the intimacy they get from you is conversation. And if that's all that they say they need. I've been in long distance relationships. They fucking suck. The biggest distance one I've had was interprovincial. I live in Newfoundland. She was in Nova Scotia. We wrote letters back and forth. Yes, we actually wrote letters. I was a young man. The internet was not a thing at the time. And, long distance phone calls were fucking expensive. But very rarely, I did actually manage to talk to her. And it took me a long time to figure out that I was just the guy she'd come and see every now and again. Because she had relatives that lived in the same area. And every now and again, they would come home for vacation. Yeah, I was travel dick. That's all I was to her. I'm sure she loved the very romantic letters I wrote her. But I didn't get terribly romantic ones in response. Wonder why that was. And a lot of that was because I was a young man, and I was a bit desperate for love. Won't lie to you. Matter of fact, regardless of what society tells you, men are just as much wanting for love as women. In some cases, more. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't mean you're giving away your power to want to be loved, or to even ask to be loved. But if you're getting into a relationship with someone, you don't ask. You demand to be loved. And you demand to be loved the way you want to be loved. Now, I'm not a fan of open relationships or multiple partners or anything like that. If I'm with a woman, I'm with a woman, and that woman only. And if she decides she wants to go be with someone else, then we're not in a relationship anymore. Simple. It's heartbreaking. It's fucking painful. But by fuck, don't ever lower your standards to please someone else. Don't do that. Look at the dating site, environment, the statistics around online dating. 90% of women chase 10% of men. They chase the ultras, the guys who are super successful. Why do they do that? Because they don't understand their own value. That's where it becomes your job to understand your value. And not just to understand it, to bargain from the position that, yeah, I understand my value, and if you don't care for it, go to hell. I went through this last time on a dating site, because occasionally I get on dating sites. This last time, I was probably on a dating site for the better part of a month. Probably spoke more than once in terms of a message to them and a message back. In terms of actually messaging back and forth more than 1 or 2 times, I probably spoke to 6 women total. Now, what they saw lacking in me, I have no idea, nor do I care. I had posted my profile. I had made it very clear what I was looking for. I made it very clear that I believe sex is an important part of a relationship. And several women, during the conversation, had not looked at my profile, and I brought up the subject of sex. This was not immediate. This was not within the first hour or 2 hours, or even 2 days in some cases, of talking to these women. This was when the conversation had evolved to the point that it made sense for us to start looking at possibly getting together. That's when I ask about sex, physical intimacy. And for me, physical intimacy isn't just sex. I am content to be touched, kissed, hugged, whatever. And Stormy is much the same. She's very physical as well when it comes to expressing affection. So I'm very lucky that way, because I found someone after much struggle. And in a sense, I suppose I made my own luck by stating very clearly what I wanted. But I was fortunate, not lucky necessarily, but fortunate to find someone just at the right time. And sometimes it is a matter of timing. To find someone that shared my view about physical intimacy. If you don't have any interests in common, even slightly divergent interests, for example, for me, not a big horror fan. Stormy, massive horror fan. Me, fantasy guy. I like Lord of the Rings, some of the Disney superhero stuff, up until fairly recently, obviously. But that minor connection gave us the ability to build a conversation. And you have to converse with someone who's your prospective partner. If you don't talk to a woman, she never has any idea. Any idea. And you have to use plain speech. You have to be plain spoken with women. Women themselves have 6 or 7 different layers of conversation. On the average. The average woman will, on average, have between 5 and 6 different layers of conversation. And it's things like what's actually said, what's being avoided, what's specifically being not said, the reading between the lines, implication, and yeah, there's a pile of different things with women. Guys are much more simple. Hi, I like you. Wanna bang? Okay, simplification, certainly. But we're very linear. There's no real, how to put it, there's no real implication when it comes to guys. We're fairly surface level creatures, because that's simply the way we're built by evolution. Women tend to have the ability to read and investigate, detect falsehoods, things like that. And that's another good thing. Be aware that if you are false, if you put on a front, you're gonna get found out. And I can hear some of you saying, oh, well, I don't really think I have anything to offer a woman. Okay, maybe you don't. You know what you do? You start working to have something. Work on yourself. Work on your career. Work on, if you have an artistic skill, work on that. But if you've got nothing to offer a woman, maybe you need to talk to your friends and ask them. You know, guys, what do you think a woman would find attractive in me? And ask your female friends. And I guarantee some of you have female friends. I would say most of you have female friends. It's actually extremely rare for a guy to have only guy friends, or a woman to have only female friends. And vice versa. It's very rare for a woman to have only guy friends. It's very rare for a guy to have only female friends. Unless there's latent homosexuality involved, I suppose. But, and even then, if you're a gay man trying to attract gay men, well, okay, you've got a much easier time than I do. But, and I kind of had to stick to the heteronormative stuff here. I'm heterosexual. But if you're trying to have a relationship with someone who's long distance, it will not work if you don't have a solid base first. Now, maybe you can manage to travel and actually be with this person. Actually be physically present with them. Maybe you can't. If you can't, then the ability to form a relationship is really, really unlikely. Yeah, you'll hear these miracle stories about, oh, they met online and they talked for years and then they got together and it was true love at first. No. More like than not, the things they were talking about were so deep that they connected on a spiritual level. They connected on a deeply intellectual level. And that sort of relationship that develops outside of being in person is unbelievably rare. And one thing you'll notice is nobody ever follows up 5 years later to see what happened. So yeah, fellas, you know, the game of love, for lack of a better term, it's a bastard. It's not easy. There's a lot of struggle. But the best way you can get prepped for it is to be a good man ahead of time. Maybe you like dogs, right? You have to find some way to connect with them. If they don't share any of your interests, you have nothing in common. If you bang like monkeys, but you don't talk afterwards, if you go play video games and she sits on her phone until like the Uber arrives or whatever, you're not in a relationship. You're just banging. You're having a hooker for free. Yeah. Anyway, guys, that's it for today. Hopefully something in that massive crap was actually useful for you. Do like, share, subscribe, and comment. If it's your first time watching one of my videos, do let me know. I do have Subscribestar and PayPal. I hate doing all this shilling stuff. Really, I do. That's why I leave it for the end. Anyway, I hope you're having a good day. I hope you continue to have good days. And rise again until lambs become lions. Bye-bye.